Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Hello.
Hey,
How are you?
good. How are
I'm
you?
good. I'm good. Thank you so much for joining, for making time. I'm very, very excited.
It's our pleasure, really.
Yeah,
The precious.
yeah.
Yeah.
Great, great, great. Can you see me? Can you hear me clearly?
Yeah.
Everything good? Okay,
Yes, we can see and
perfect.
hear. Wow.
Okay, perfect. So I guess we'll jump straight into it. I just want to welcome everyone else that is joining us on our live today. So yeah, welcome, Karibu Sana. My name is Wardi Monduba, and I am the community manager at African Digital Heritage. And so yeah, just to give a brief description of what the Culture Catch-Up is. The Culture Catch-Up is a series of public history talks that will revolve around having conversations centered on continental and African diasporic history projects, archives, museums, and artistic institutions. With these talks delving into emerging topics in this expansive and beautiful cultural heritage space. At the heart of it, as an ADH, we desire for these public history talks to be a space of affirmation, of learning, of joy, something that we believe is found in the communal gathering of like-minded people. And so in the spirit of celebrating like-minded people, I am so pleased and overjoyed to introduce the founders of Milele Museum, Bruce and Melissa. And they are artists, part of the Crew Art Collective and Space. And so yeah, I'll just give a brief introduction into Milele, and then we can get started with our conversation. So yeah, Milele Museum is Africa's first virtual museum that is dedicated to the restitution and repatriation of stolen artifacts and cultural heritage. Their work is centered around the question, will the future generation show interest in their true heritage with the current way of working at schools and cultural institutions? Recognizing that stolen artifacts often have a diminished sense of meaning due to the fact that the stories that are held within these artifacts are often, because they are situated in the West, often have an outside of the original context. Milele seeks to bridge these disjointed and separate gaps in history by creating ideas to make cultural heritage more accessible and entertaining for the next generation of Africans. Yeah, with future generations also spending a large percentage of time on their phones, Milele's work creates digital space for people to reconnect with their roots through the engagement of cultural heritage through artifacts and history. So Karibu Sana, thank you so much. And I feel like I've been talking and talking and talking. And so I'd like to pass the baton on to you. And yeah, it would be really lovely for you to both introduce yourselves. And yeah, also share how you met. I'd really love to know how the both of you met in the first place. Yeah.
All right. So my name is Melissa Kutz. I'm a multidisciplinary artist and curator, and I started my artistic career with film photography. And as I wanted to develop my career, I got in touch with various museums and in the Netherlands and Belgium because that's where I grew up. And I came across issues within the art industry, such as lack of diversity for once. And I really wanted to change that. And that's why I started my curator career last year. And as I was visiting these museums and galleries, I also visited museums that hold African artifacts that were stolen, which I always really found uncomfortable. And then in 2021, I went to Rwanda, which is my mother country, and I stayed there for about a year to do my internship, but also connect with the cultural industry there. So I visited a lot of art spaces and that I found through Instagram. And that's also how I met Kanda. And when we had conversations, he had this amazing idea of something virtual regarding stolen African artifacts and really work with interaction with it. So that was really the starting point for us. And right now, I am also doing my master's program in arts leadership at the University of Houston in Texas. So that's a little bit about me.
Nice.
Thank you. So my name, like she mentioned, my name is Bruce Nipuru, aka Kanda. I'm a multidisciplinary artist and a social practitioner in Rwanda. I started art since I can probably remember. I always wanted to be a good drawer. In my primary school, I was drawing for my colleagues, fellow students, and for my teachers. I wanted to do it. I always wanted to challenge other students to, to see who's a good drawer and stuff like that. And so I was very interested in visual stories. And my last classes of high school, I fortunately joined this amazing art studio, Art Studio. It was around 2011. So I got to finally realize my dream of actually learn about art and maybe be an artist. So in 2013, I already that I wanted to be an artist full time as my and make it a career out of. Yeah, in that 2017, I was able to co-found an amazing art space, Kuru Art Space, together with my two other fellow Rwandan artists, Moses Izabiza and Manzi Jackson. We shared the similar perspective of what we wanted to achieve in our uh, and how we can engage the communities and just spread the art and change our lives in the community. And so I kept growing that, meeting and with different amazing people and having chances to travel, international exchanges. So in 2020, I had a very dark year. I think many people did, but personally, it went a little bit personal on my life. And it kind of changed everything, my thinking, my visions. And I was not afraid to be vulnerable, just expose my ideas and just experience as much as I can. And so had we wanted to challenge the situation that the whole world is in, and especially in Rwanda, where I'm from. There, as you all know, we were in the lockdown. It was more like a dystopic world. Wouldn't held any gathering or anything like that, and so we came up with an idea of doing a virtual exhibition, which we were successfully executed. And so those ideas started to build something different around me. And so 2021, I came up with an idea of doing the virtual space, a metaverse, which we can call a museum. The term museum is it's still very hard to understand, especially in our perspective as of Africans. But yes, so there was an issue of restitution that was speculating in the media all around the world, and especially also in societies and communities. A lot of artists, culture practitioners, a lot of historians that everyone wanted to have an answer on how we can approach this question. And so I was one of those people who wanted to have something to say about it. I met Marissa, which was really great. So we started to develop this idea and give it more logic and give it more good direction and see how it can actually fit in our problems, in our circumstance. So yeah, this is how Milele started to grow. I think the first thing was to start to reach out to other people who has this similar perspective so we can all go crazy together. Yeah.
Yeah.
What I can say.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing. I think, yeah, I just would be really curious to know, yeah, so far, like since like the idea was birthed and as it's continued to morph and grow, yeah, what has the process been like? What has the process been like so far?
So far what we have done is last June actually we launched on virtual reality together
Yeah.
with Kigali and Nairobi at the same time. And this was really for us the first time where we could show basically our product to the audience really. And, before that, we had 3 phases for getting to that. So the first one was really partner engagement and creating a team, mostly artists, researchers, and cultural practitioners. And beginning, we were on Rwanda, Kenya, and Nigeria. And Kanda and I were doing the Rwandan part, so doing the research and choosing which artifacts we want to display. And then we worked with Team 2 Interact, Brian Jenga and Ian Okinda from Kenya, focusing on the Kenyan space. They had a project before meeting called the Heritage Project, was also online metaverse dedicated to Kenyan heritage. And then we also worked with on the Benin bronzes, and they are an online collective that works with AR. So during this phase, we also reached out to many institutions, mostly museums, that hold these artifacts. So they were in Europe or in the US, with the question if they could support us, which led us to the second phase. So based on the information we were able to receive, we started with doing more research, and we contacted institutions with a request what we need to enhance our research. So we were looking for the amounts of artifacts that they hold from those 3 countries that I mentioned before. And we focus on their origins, the material, and how they got into the museum where they are now. So all of this main information. And then we also asked if there was a possibility for us to take 3D scans ourselves of those artifacts in partnership with the museums. And if that could not be possible, we would ask them to send pictures of these artifacts to us so that we could render them into 3D objects. And then the third phase was dedicated to designing and building the space. We did this with our production partner, Team 2 Interactive from Kenya, and on a research and also using our creative imaginations, because we are all artists in our team. We designed space for these artifacts that resemble the traditional architecture and environment before colonialism. And then we also worked on the interaction part, how to make this experience enjoyable for the user, and also how to make it. And this is also how we came up with the idea of having games inside the space. And for example, right now we have a game called Umuvuno, where the user is searching for traditional medicine to help to heal characters in the space. So the characters also speak the local language with the written English translation. And currently we are in the phase of putting Milele Museum on the web, because now it's just virtual reality, but we realize not everyone can get a virtual headset. So we are really working on a web experience for more people to access it, and having a really web dedicated to what we are doing, and also create discussions with people who are on our website, sharing their thoughts, and so, and also have a more perspective that is dedicated to cultural practices and wisdom next to the artifacts. So that's really the process behind it.
Yeah, yeah. And I'd really like to also hear more about like what research for this looked like. And even just like what engaging with like, because sometimes I've done a bit of research, and sometimes it can be it takes like quite a lot to get kind of like a full, broad and nuanced picture of what when you don't have like tangible access to the objects or to the information. So yeah, what was the research process like? And yeah, what was also interaction with the museums like as well?
I I have to say that we approached the museums that displays those artifacts, but we also did approach the local institutions as they already hold the key of the decision making approach, and they were that process. And so we wanted to go through that bridge and just make the journey easier as much as possible. But it was not that easy, so we had to do it ourselves. And so as we are just a small institution, we just a duo who's trying to do something. So it was not easy to be taken as serious as we wanted to be taken. So it was a bit difficult, but we tried our. We communicated through emails, but of course they released some informations that they think it goes through fabric, but they held other information for their own personal reasons that we don't really buy. But it was not intense as we thought, but yet it was not that easy because what we want to have, we don't really have it yet. We have all those information because they build it is. We probably forgot to say what the name Milele mean. Milele, it's a Swahili word which refers to something eternal, something that will last forever. And we wanted to say that those artifacts are eternal and they will be always belong to our community, no matter where they're displayed. And that's why they are called African artifacts where they are, because they can't erase that. Our community created that. That's how it is. It's just the truth. It's a fact. So we would have liked to have all those documents and erase this question and actually have a process. And we actually are helping them as well in conquering what they have buried. So it was not that easy, but yeah, so far I guess we appreciate the journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I would also love to know what some of like the guiding values are that shape your digital restitution process and even like your creation of your virtual space. Yeah, I'd really love to know what guides you, what values guide your work.
So I think our first guiding line is really having conversations. We believe in communication and having an understanding that comes from sympathy mostly. And these communications can be done through artists, through communities, students, and yeah. And our second value is that we are driven by the energy of collaboration. We believe in this because we have different points of views that can than doing this just by the two of us. And we also all come from different backgrounds with different stories that we want to cover inside this space. So this is why we work with various African artists and collectives, and we ask them if they could design the space of their own community as having a representation. And another important guidance is that we try really our best to respect the authenticity of the stories that we display. Because as we mentioned earlier, to do research from a distance from these museums is challenging. We also came across some mistakes in their database that they would say, for example, this artifact comes from this country, but we found out doing our personal research it actually comes from another country. So things like that is really tricky to work with, and we really want to work with authentic material in our space. So this is also why we are respecting the way we all do. We also really look out for things like copyrights, which we are still experimenting on really how it works inside this virtual space. So yeah, I think if there's more.
No.
Yeah.
Almost all of it. That's our guidelines, and
Yeah.
this is yeah. I think she said all. If
Yeah.
I would just
Okay, great. Um, you've touched on this, I think, but I really also would love to hear, like, on an individual basis, what is this teaching you about yourself, and also about the world that you inhabit, and even about yeah, the African continent. Yeah, I'd love to hear that from the both of you.
So me as an individual, so far it has teach that I can experiment any vision and somehow it can come to life if I commit to that. And it's very important that everyone following us or everyone who can be able to probably see this understand that point of view. The fiction spaces live with us. They live around us. We just cannot be able to understand the logic behind it because we can't bring life to bring it to our eyes, to the visuals, and believe that it's there. So if you have visions and you are an artist or even just in any area, I don't know, you are a doctor or I don't know, you cook, whatever. If you have something, a test or anything that is coming in your mind, just experiment it. There is nothing wrong with that. And what also teaches me is that it's time that we take the advantage of technology and use it in our own education and in our own benefit, especially in our community in Africa. And we strongly mention that again because that's where we come from, and it's the most uh, disrespected continent and looked down community. And we actually have a lot of in our community. We just underestimate ourselves. And so this has encouraged me a lot, and it has opened my eyes to see the treasures that we have that is just there to pick up, which is really our stories. Our culture is very vibrant that any person in the world can just venture into it and they just be driven by the energy around it. It has a lot of knowledge that we have to give to the world. So this is me personally. It teaches me this project, and mostly it helped me to just conquer my ego and allow the exchange of collaboration with other people, and not be afraid to have a similar ideas yet be unique in my own approach or in my own other point of view. So it was really a great experience.
Yeah. For me, as you said about collaboration, it really has taught me the importance on how we should work together as African artists and researchers, because even though we all come from different African cultures, we still have these issues of not having our belongings that belongs to us back home, and that our stories are westernized or not recognized, and etc etc. And with Milele being an online metaverse, I learned the many options it can offer for visual storytelling purposes, and really rewriting these stories and making it our own. And also, since this is a very sensitive subject to talk about, we make sure that people we work with within our team, that we respect each other's time, because it takes a lot of energy to always work and talk about this subject. It really does, because it's personal. And yeah, I think for me that would be it.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So in regards to like collaboration and choosing to work with people who work in technology and are artists in Kenya and in Nigeria. Was that deliberate when it came to like picking those two countries, in addition to Rwanda, or were you looking for people who were already involved in that space already?
Yeah, we were looking for the people who are already involved in that perspective and trying to approach anything around it. And for us who are come from Rwanda, I think it was a bit challenge in our art industry, also in our institutions, our public institutions, because this is a kind of very new idea, and we did it mostly because the whole world was in that time where they were processing in going to Web3 in another dimension of deep understanding the fiction spaces. And we wanted to take that advantage and be one of the people on the board and just be around it. It's a very new idea to our community. It was really hard to post that. And so we had to approach anyone around our continent, because this project was really dedicated to the whole 54 countries, and still is. We're just taking the process and just how it is in reality. So Kenya was already in that perspective. They had a lot of amazing projects going on, like IIP and Ruti from Nigeria. They were doing the banning front, something with the NFT, which was also really encouraging. They were in the news. Everyone was admiring their courage, including us. So those people, we were already in the same journey, and we wanted to stick together, which is what we are doing even for other countries. We just had a good exchange with a group of young people from South Sudan who had already a huge laboratory of documents and what they are doing. Really amazing work what they're doing, and yeah, we want to see how we can just shake hands and get as well. How it's gonna keep going. Yeah, we are hoping maybe by 2 years or 1 year already we can have everyone there, and we can shake this thing as much as we can.
Yeah, nice. Was technology a part of your individual artistic practices? Was it a very dominant part of your artistic practices, or was it in building this space that really was brought alive for you? Both.
For me, honestly, before starting this, only thing I knew about technology was doing games when I was younger. Mario or Zelda, but really, I enjoyed playing them, but I never really thought of doing something my own with that. So meeting Kanda, hearing his idea, I was really impressed by it, and it really taught me a lot what the possibilities are in this industry, and I'm literally learning every day about it. So that's also a plus. But you already were kind of
I think I wouldn't say that it was the most occupying medium in my artistic practices, but it was one of them. Normally, I would say that I am a narrative painter. Really, I like to paint, and I just go in that process of realizing something. But I was already doing some couple of digital paintings. I was becoming a digital artist. But I always, when I have an idea or a project that I want to experiment, I always try to get a suitable medium that can really present it or create in the way that I am visualizing. So this one was more in digital way, But yeah, it doesn't mean that we don't do other practices, like performances or just paint on the canvases. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, thank you for sharing. So I think I would really love to know what about this work brings you joy.
Um, mm, you wanna...
I would say that for me, the first joy is that like when you always have a vision, it sounds either pathetic or crazy, because um, you first don't know how anyone is going to believe that, and even like that's actually the reaction that you get mostly, because it's still a bit, it's still you still developing your idea. So the first joy is just to be actually coming into life and just not finally be like, oh, finally, it just came out of the head. At least now, like I know it's possible. So that's the first joy, just to achieve that. But another joy is just to engage other people, just be believed, and work together. And another joy is that I know for certain that it's contributing something in my community in many ways. Either the way of what we are approaching on the artifacts that were looted and stolen, which is restitution, or in conservation, futuristic ways that we can think of. Also in ways we can rewrite our stories in our own ways, because nobody else understands us than we do. That's really a huge insult that we ever had. And so it gives me a lot of joys, and also just to see other people, developing the same similar projects is also give me a joy, and just be like, we are not alone. Like there's a lot of people actually trying to do something about this.
Yeah. Also, another joy that it gives me is that we are able to do this with really little help from Western institutions. Because in the beginning, I honestly we would have to work closely together, because otherwise it will not work. But we still find our way, and it really is really empowering for us that we are really focused on Pan-African project and really put the focus on Africa and really working with these people instead of going to the West, like how it usually is in the art industry. We always seek for recognition in the West, but we want to change that around, Milele, and it's coming to life, and that also really gives me a joy as an artist as well.
Yeah, that's really
Maybe
powerful.
one last thing, sorry for interrupting you.
No, it's fine.
I was really amazed that the project was literally African made.
Yeah.
It was just in African cycle. We even actually tried to get extra support from other experts in Europe, other friends who know a bit about digital tools and stuff like that. But somehow the nature just made it to just be produced only in Africa and just be made by only African artists. So it was really great to just see that happening and just be like, oh, we can do anything, and encouraging.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's really, really important. That concept of the fact that we can do this. You don't have to keep looking to the West for approval or for a source, that we keep returning to. This is within ourselves. So yeah, thanks for sharing that. I think I'd also love to know if there's anything surprising that you've come across whilst creating Milele. Well, yeah, Milele Museum.
Yeah. Surprising. I mean, it may not really sound surprised, but for me, it was also really seeing people, as for example, that we did the launch in June in Nairobi, in Kigali, to see people really enjoying and engaging with space, and hearing the reactions from it, and how people have stories from their own cultures being represented in Milele. That was really a surprise for me to see that people actually are interested in having this together. So I would say that's one surprise.
Yeah, that's one of surprise. I think in what you just said, the biggest surprise was that special the community in Kenya. I want to thank you guys again. You know, we had amazing journey, and it was just like 1-2 days, just meeting people around, but it felt like for me like two years going because people who understand you and you know who encourage you to try to do something. uh they didn't really even like had to put money out of their pocket and just invest in us, but just to just encourage us in words in exchange. It was really great. That was a surprise for me, because I was desperately looking for that. That was a surprise. I think nothing more was a surprise after that. I think everything else was more realistic.
Yeah.
The people we engaged with, and I keep sticking to Kenya because even the art work too, the team interactive too, Brian Jagger, Ian. It was just amazing to work with them because they are really professional and they believed in this idea. Normally hard to experiment such an artwork when there is no a lot of means of benefit that is involved, especially for the artists because the career, and that's where they get food to put on the table. So when you see someone dedicate their time and energy to such a project, it just was really encouraging. Yeah, so that was a good support. Yeah,
Definitely.
Yeah. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah, shut up.
Shout out.
All the way.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'd love to, as we head to like the conclusion of our conversation, I'd love to know what your hopes and your dreams for this work would look like. Yeah.
I think our biggest dream is what he mentioned previously, that we really want to have a representation of all the African countries and cultures, so all the 54 in our Milele Museum. That is our biggest goal, really. And also our hope is to be part of the reference to our generation, but also the generations that are about to come, in terms of owning our history, really, and having technical ways to how to conserve that. And yeah, the continent should be really a place of comfort, education, and also of empowerment. So that's really what we want to contribute with Milele.
Yes, our dream, like we see our continent as the most I don't know, that we contributed a lot in the world that is dedicated to cultural practices, which brings a lot of positive feelings in the world. And so we want our country to be a place of a dream. We want to achieve this in any advantage we can get. At this time, technology is really offering a lot of tools that can help us. Like you mentioned in the introduction, which you really you did a good introduction of us, by the way. I forgot to
Sorry, we forgot.
Yeah, our generation and our community are really ventured into phones, cell phones, other devices, technology tools. And we want to take this advantage to use it in our own benefit, which is more educative and try to know ourselves, and to use our academic knowledge in our own understanding, in our most understanding, which could be language or other details of practices. So this is what we want to in our dream. And we're hoping that this metaverse could be a beginning of what can happen to this continent. Just a little beginning. Yeah, we hope other people will just join in the future.
Yeah, lovely, lovely. So I don't know if anyone who's on the live has any questions for Milele. If you do, like, please feel free to ask away as I get into our final question, which is just like a series of fun questions, which is what music are you currently listening to that you're enjoying?
Really, depends on our moods and of music.
Okay.
I listen to, yeah, I'm just thinking what I've been listening these days. It's mostly hip hop that I've been listening to a lot.
Yeah.
90s.
Like 50 years of hip hop. It's like hip hop.
Yeah.
So
I've been giving my respect to that genre, I guess. Yeah.
She's making a lot of noise right now. Yeah, I think I say the same. I love hip hop as one of the I don't know, black culture, I think.
Yeah.
But I also bring a very unique experience in the way it just approach. But I also I think we've been listening to some jazzy and
music.
Zouk.
Yeah.
Zouk, somehow we went in the Caribbean, so we just wanna be on the islands and just enjoy the beaches, and
yes.
just in our mind, we be able to go there, but just in our minds. We pretend to be there. Yeah, I think that so far that's the music we really are, and of course Afrobeat. That
constant.
It has to be on. It has to be on the menu for real, and so it's a good cake.
Yeah,
that we just for later.
Great. Okay, so I've seen that we have one question that has just come in. And so this is a question saying regarding the long-term visions of your project is it in your vision that this kind of virtual museum can open the door for the physical restitution of objects?
So that's one of the challenges we are facing, because we want by all means restitution to happen, but we also want those artifacts not to go from the Western institution to the local institution, which are also museums left by our colonialists as one of the philosophic conservation of thinking. We met Professor Mboro from Tanzania. He had a great idea. He's actually he's a co-founder of Postcoloniale, which is an organization that is dedicated for human remains of our ancestors that are still in European museums. That's another topic that's very sensitive. Anyways, they had an idea of doing village museums. So they wanted to do different kind of villages in their tribes where those artifacts were, and they displays them there. And we thought it was really brilliant idea, and we wanted to find ways on how we can collaborate. But somehow we haven't really been successfully to be able to make it happen. But we do think it will be one of the right way to approach this issue. Later, making it a political exchange process, which we think is going to take a lot of, and we don't know what is classified around there.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much for that. And so, yeah, I think we have come towards the end of our conversation. And so if someone wanted to support you, or to just be made aware of any upcoming events that you have, how can we do this? Yeah.
I'm gonna write our email in the comments, so that's why people can reach out to us if they want to work with us, or comments failed to be posted. So info space, which is our email, but it's also on our social media bio on Instagram. So that's where people can reach out to us. We check our email daily, and also by sending our DMs, we look at our DMs as well. And if you want to be up to date with our events, it's mostly social media. Like, we are on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and also on LinkedIn. That's new. And so we post everything there. If there's anything happening, if something is launching, if we are looking for people, that's where we really post, and that's where you can get our process really.
Yeah, and we need to engage institutions, individual collaborators who would want who are interested to join this journey of African cultural practices and knowledge. And we want to get funds, please. We want to get funds to be able to help our team making this amazing job that they're and do it comfortably and just be able to achieve this goal. So that's mostly all the support we need.
Yeah.
And for us, everywhere we are, we need you guys to support us, and so we don't feel alone.
Yeah. Well, Asante Sana, thank you so much for sharing space and conversation with me. It's been such a pleasure. Thank you for the important and amazing work that you are doing. I think we as ADH, we're very excited to have you as our first guest and also just learn from what you're doing. So thank you so much. And people, you've heard where to find them, how to support them. And so I also want to thank our audience for being here. And for participating. And yeah, I think this is the end of the live.
Karibuni, asante sana, sister. Well, I think it was a great.
Yes, and you're earlier. Here is good, So welcome back.
East Africa. Yeah, when I'm in Kenya, I pretend to be a local from there, so they don't stand like that. So I a little bit of Swahili.
Yeah.
But my
work, accent is good. Accent is good. So yeah.
yeah. So but thank you so much. It was a great experience.
Yes.
And we hope to do this again.
Yeah.
We appreciate what you guys are doing. In your work. It's really very, very inspirational. We didn't probably mention you guys in a conversation we did, but you guys were one of the best people we approached, actually. And you didn't hold back to just give advice. So thank you so much for that.
Definitely.
It's like a full circle moment. I'm always a fan of like full circle moments. So
yeah.
It is.
Yes, let's keep this going.
Yes.
Really. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye.